You're watching and listening to the latest Red and Blue review show. For all your Crystal Palace related chat, please like and subscribe across all the usual social media platforms, especially our YouTube channel. This really helps us out. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Palace fans across the globe. Welcome to another edition of the Red and Blue Review podcast with me, Ian Noble, hosting this evening. And as you can see, if you're watching live on screen with me, I have some familiar faces. First up, Nick Philpot, just fresh from his latest radio show. Some say he's the perfect face for radio. Good evening, Nick. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very amusing. Good evening, Mr. Lord Noble. I hope you're well. Good evening, boys, and good evening to each and every one of you out there in Facebook and YouTube land. I hope you're all well.
Brilliant. Are you going to keep an eye on the chat for us tonight, Nick? Can you do that?
I'm doing it right now, sir. I'm doing it right now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And also joining us, we have Tim Fab Richards. We call him Fab, not because he's fabulous, but because he sits on the fan advisory board. Someone very important to us. How are you, Tim? Are you well?
Good thing you said. Good, thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all.
And you managed to get a ticket for yesterday's game in the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd volunteered for the foundation. I managed to get one through them. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. What did you have to do volunteer-wise to get a ticket?
Oh, it was just basically money grabbing, just with a bucket and a card machine, trying to raise as much money as we can get.
Oh, very good. I hope you were successful. Very good. And last but by no means least, the real panel, or ACCA, Paul Gear, smiling with his shirts and the FA Cup behind him. Hello, Paul. Are you well?
Yeah, hi, and how you doing? Yeah, hi, everyone. Yeah, it's always good to talk about Palace on a Monday night, especially after an unbeaten week.
Absolutely. And, of course, we've had 3 wins and a draw in the last 4 games across all competitions. So that's not too bad, given that the time before we podded and we'd lost a couple, haven't we? And the unbeaten run had gone and we were feeling a bit doom and gloom. But things are looking up a bit now, so that's all good. Of course, we're going to talk about both games. We're going to talk about the UEFA Conference game against AZ Alkmaar, and Paul's going to lead on that one. And then we're going to talk about the goalless draw yesterday between Crystal Palace and that small team on the south coast, and Tim's going to lead on that one. And Nick, you're going to tell us who's in the chat, are you? And
I'm just going to jump in, and for those of you on Facebook, good evening. For those of you, well, there's no point me saying this, but for those of you trying to join us on YouTube, apparently there is an issue this evening, and our YouTube channel is not open. So I hope it does come up shortly, but at the moment, and Lucy's confirmed it, we are not showing live on our YouTube channel. I hope that changes during the course of the show.
Well, thanks for that, Nick. That's a bit of a blow, but there's plenty of people joining us on Facebook, so we're going to carry on regardless, on with the show. Sometimes these things do happen. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about just how good Tarek Mitchell was yesterday. We're going to be talking, of course, about young JD Camvo and his full Premier League debut. And we're going to be talking about what I like to term the Lerma leap. Now, we'll talk more about that as the show goes on. We'll have a bit of news about other teams. Well, of course, we'll look ahead at the games as they come thick and fast throughout November and December, and look ahead at what's due, and also take a deep breath because it's the international break after this podcast. So we're all going to have a little bit of a rest after today. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's get on and talk about the game in the week. So many pictures of Selhurst Park under the lights, weren't they, doing the rounds on social media? And there's one of them there with the 2 badges of the clubs, and there's another. I think that's wonderful. It didn't know you could see Paris from the Selhurst Park, could you really? So there we are, the Crystal Palace Tower, of course, not the Eiffel Tower in the background. And of course the AZ Alkmaar fans brought their own atmosphere to it. Of course, they walked, Nick. Did you see the videos of them walking from the Croydon flyover all the way to Selhurst?
I don't think, I would guess, I'd take the opinion that they didn't realise quite how far that walk was from Queen's Garden at the back of the Whitgift Centre to Selhurst Park all the way up the Whitehall Road. And they were vocal, and from what I can understand, extremely well behaved. Extremely well behaved. Good luck to them. They brought a lot to the party the other night.
Yeah, they did, and you know what? We didn't hear any reports of trouble. There was a high police presence around Selhurst when I got there, probably more so than yesterday, even I think. But police everywhere. But hopefully they behave themselves. And if anyone's got any experiences of the Alkmaar fans, then do share them with us, and we'll give you a shout out. Yeah, so absolutely, they brought a lot to the party, and I love the pre-match fireworks. You know, we put on a bit of a show, didn't we, on Thursday night before the game? Do you think, Paul?
We did, yeah. I mean, obviously the night games, they do the light show, they do the fireworks these days, and I think they jazz it up a bit for the European games. And yeah, as I say, it hopefully gets the crowd going and gets everyone in the mood.
It's probably one of the best set of fans we've had at Selhurst, you know, from the Premier League time right the way through now. I mean, they started bouncing before kick, and even at 3-1 down, they were still bouncing.
Yeah, and then they put the scarves up, their red and white scarves.
Yeah,
Where's
very
Wally? They
effective.
did that, didn't they? You know, they did their impersonation of that. But no, they were very good, I thought, very good. And it's almost a shame we can't go and play them away, isn't it? You know, like, hopefully we get through to the knockouts. We'll get the fans coming to our place. We'll better go and visit them in the knockouts. But no, they were great. Of course, we might yet play them again in the competition because that can happen. But look, let's get on with the game. Paul, you're going to have a look at this one for us. But before we get into the game, let's have a look at the teams, Lucy, if we can. We've got the lovely Lucy producing tonight. We've given Nigel a night off, and Lucy, who's in the background. Thank you, Lucy, for that. So here's the lineup for the Alkmaar game, and very differently to what we thought on last week's podcast, because we talked about the lineup, we talked about what the team selection was going to be, and all of us sort of agreed there'd be 2 or 3 changes, but the only change was from the Brentford game was that Hughes came in for Kamada in the middle of the pitch, and otherwise we were absolutely full strength. Of course, Wharton was still missing from that starting 11, but that's as strong as it gets, isn't it, Paul? Do you think?
Yeah, bar Kamada and Wharton, I think it's our back. It's our first choice keeper, first choice defence, and up until the other day, the first choice front line. So, yeah, as I say, we all discussed whether rotation was needed, and Oliver had said, I think it was a bit of a wake up call, wasn't it, losing to Larnaca when he did make a couple of changes. So he obviously decided let's make sure we get the points in the bag because we haven't left ourselves much room for manoeuvre. So yeah, it was a very strong team. And to be fair, I think Lerma had he played very well against Brentford, so he deservedly kept his place.
Yeah, and it was a game we couldn't afford to lose for sure. We had to win the game really, which is what we did. So Paul, do you want to kick off and talk us through this one?
Yeah, so obviously, we had all the showbiz starting up and the fireworks, and game gets underway. And I thought Alkmaar started quite well. They played some nice, neat, tidy play, and you can see why they're riding quite high in their division at the moment. They look quite confident. But yeah, so the first 10 minutes or so, they had most of the ball and they had a couple of pot shots and things like that. Nothing really too stressful, but they sort of wanted to take the game to us, which is always quite good because obviously we do struggle sometimes against teams that want to sit back against us. So it was nice to see them come out, and it looked like it was going to be quite an open game. But we sort of weathered that 10 minutes and started to get back into the game and a more attacking mode. And then in the 11th minute, we got a free kick, and it was stuck right into the mixer, as it were, by Pino to the back post, where Richards got up the back post and he's headed the ball right back into the middle, into Saar, who's controlled it and swiveled and hit the post. It was a good shot. Probably should have done a little bit better, but it was similar to Saturday's goal, where as I said, we'll come on to later, as you said, Ian, about these free kicks and things that are going to the back post, and Lerma or Richards is getting up and putting it back into the middle. But yeah, so yes, hitting the post, and yes, it was unfortunate because a goal obviously would settle the nerves and things like that. But it didn't betray us. We didn't get down on him. Kept going. Saar then went driving down the left, and Pino played a lovely through ball through the defenders, and Saar keeper came rushing out and basically takes him out. The ref points to the spot, but then the linesman decides to put his flag up. So we all presume him for an offside and things like that. And this was their long VAR check of the night. It took about 3 or 4 minutes and everything, and there's a lot less communication than you even get in the Premier League in.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why he flagged. First of all, I thought he might have flagged, not that he can see that far really. They thought Saar might have gone over, too easily or something, was diving. and because you couldn't really see from where we were sitting that he got taken out like he did. But he seemed to get those big decisions wrong all night, didn't he, this linesman, which we'll come on to the others later. But yeah, so the VAR really played a part, didn't it, in this game?
Yeah, there were a few long checks. I mean, as I say, every penalty is checked anyway, so we just assumed that was the check. But then it came up on the scoreboard, it was checking offside. And I think basically when Mitchell first hoisted the ball into the box, Mateta was in an offside position. And I think when Gahey then nodded it back, or it came across, sorry, it was, I know they were checking for the offside. I think when he came back, they realised he wasn't interfering or anything. So quite useful. But yeah, but obviously penalty was confirmed.
Yeah.
So Mateta steps up for it. And I actually said to my dad just before we took it, I never trust Mateta with penalties. And I mean that may be harsh. He's taken 4 this season and he's scored 4. But I just don't trust his technique and things like that. I mean, do you guys feel the same, or were you all confident he was going to put it in?
Nick, what was your thought in the round?
I'll go take that first if you don't mind. There was a real weird thing happening pre the actual kick itself. Mateta didn't hear the referee blow his whistle. And then he looks over his shoulder at the referee, and the referee had already blown his whistle at this point. And the referee said, "I've done it," like this. And Mateta all of a sudden took his run up, and we know what happened next. Mateta didn't hear the whistle, 100%. I'm sure people, and I think it actually put him off. He didn't put his laces through it. It wasn't the best penalty in the world, and got what he deserved, really.
Yeah, Dave Newman in the chat agrees with you. Did he hear the whistle? That was a new one on me. I didn't pick that up in the ground.
He didn't hear it. The referee's whistle went, certainly 20 seconds before Mateta had looked at him and decided to take the kick.
Yeah, Phillips on David says Mateta was distracted. Tim, should he have done better? Jean-Philippe Mateta with a penalty kick?
Well, yeah, because he didn't score. But I think it's slightly harsh because he went for placement. Now, if the keeper goes the wrong way or doesn't make a dive, it's a perfect penalty, perfectly slotted away. I think it was just a case. Yeah, he didn't hit it very hard. I think he was going for placement. Maybe it was a bit obvious. So I just think the penalties, I much prefer it if a player just puts his foot through the ball and just goes for it. None of the silly kind of pauses, and because if you don't score, you look at Charlie. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the one he missed in the semi-final was closer than that one. That was a different type of penalty kick, and he's scored others that have sort of trickled over the line in the past. And it wasn't a good penalty. It was a very average penalty. That if the keeper guesses right, which he did, he's going to save it. Any decent keeper, whereas you compare that to the 2 penalties that Justin Devene's taken in shootouts, and no keeper in the world saving them if they go the right way. So maybe he needs some practice. So, question to you all then: we get a penalty at Molineux in a couple of weeks' time. Who takes it, Paul?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, as I say, I would have thought I maybe been a bit unfair. He scored 4 out of 4. So in that respect, he's possibly entitled to a miss. But I was saying this the other day. If you look through the team, there's actually not that many obvious players you would think would step up. I mean, I'd like to see Lacroix smash a ball like he did the other day as well. But because like Tim, I'm always a firm believer of just put your foot through it, and if the keeper saves it, fair play. But I mean, Sarr scored his in the shootout at Wembley. Again, I didn't like the technique too much of that. I think there's too many of these players trying to take clever penalties. So, like I say, it's I'd go for anyone who says to Oliver Glasner, "I'm just going to hit it."
Bit of love for Pino in the chat, maybe.
What about has Mateta gone away with France?
Yes, he's back in the French squad. Yeah,
is he? So he can't spend his downtime practicing his penalties.
He can't practice penalties, no. Well, maybe he can in the French squad. But no, and people are saying Devene if he's playing. But of course, Devene isn't always going to be playing, or not that often, really. And I wonder where the penalties are different in shootouts than in the normal game. Different mindset sometimes. But look, he takes a penalty, he misses it. It's 0-0, Paul, isn't it? So.
Yeah, as I say, and the good thing with Palace, I like in that semi-final back then, didn't let the heads drop. We kept going straight at them, and straight away Hughes got the ball on the left-hand side, and he crossed the ball in, and Sarr, very good header towards the goal. Keeper makes an excellent save. and it comes down, and we bounce the ball back in again. It goes to the far post, and Hughes lifts the ball back in. It comes off the bar, and then there was a Munoz, I think, had a shot block. So we were sort of beginning to pepper the goal at this point, and it was hopefully only a matter of time. And sure enough, in the 20th minute, we take the lead. So Tyrick puts the ball into the box from the centre circle, and Gay, he knocks it down. It's sort of bouncing a bit, and no one knows what's happening. And then Lacroix just, as we said, puts his foot through it straight into the back of the net. Beautiful hit. Offside flag seemed to go up again. That seemed to be the case. He was doing all these another long VAR check, which, as we said, they're just standing there, and no one's helping or telling the crowd anything really. And then you just wait for that moment where he does the square and he points to the spot, the centre spot. So it's Max's first goal of the season, second goal for us, and on our way, which was great. And then
we get to celebrate twice now, don't we? Is that the positive in a glass half full view of VAR? We get to celebrate the goal, and then we have to wait and we celebrate it again. Still too long, isn't it, Tim Richards? Do you think, between the decision and the actual act on the pitch?
Absolutely. I mean, VAR only gets involved for clear and obvious errors, and if it takes them 2, 3, 4 minutes with constant TV, different angles, and they still can't make a decision for that long, it's not a clear and obvious. So there should be a time limit. I think anything over 30, if they can't decide after 30 seconds with all the angles they've got, it's not a clear and obvious decision. Go with the on-field decision.
Yeah. What do you think, Nick?
Okay, I've got a couple of things to tell you. Lee Lockwood in the chat has said maybe we need to give the penalties to Adam Morton. Obviously, it's the only way we get to see him do his backflip celebration, because he's not doing it from open play. I've got a little quick story to tell you, if you don't mind. I was in the gents at the time of that goal that you're discussing, okay? So...
too much information, but you carry on.
Let me finish, okay? I'll show you how long the epoxy VAR took. By the time I'd finished, I'd walk back down into the Homestead, down to row 13. I said to the bloke as I turned into my row, what have I missed? He said, we've scored. And still the VAR's going on. It just shows the complete inadequacies of the linesman got it wrong again. This is already twice been mentioned in, okay? And then the VAR, the elongated time on the VAR.
Yeah. I suppose the only thing you can say that was positive is that they got the decisions right in the end.
Yes.
Whereas without VAR, they might not have got them right. In fact, they would have got them wrong, wouldn't they? It was like the penalty that we'll come on to in the Brighton game. VAR intervenes and gets the right decision, and we're on the receiving end of the right decision this time, of course. So we feel good about it, but it did seem to take far too long. And I suppose we know now that Italian officials are no better than English officials, because they're just as bad. So where are we now? 1-0 or 2-0?
1-0. So we just scored. And then really for the rest of the first half, we were pretty much in control, attacking, looking for that second goal. Half sort of peters out, get to the 45th minute, and they hold up. I think they only held up 4 or 5 minutes stoppage time, which was crazy because that was almost like one of the VAR checks. It was a very lenient set of time, but that was when Alkmaar had their first sort of real threat. They worked well, had a good long range shot which Dean parried away, and then the guy came up for the rebound and he managed to stop that from close range as well. So he was kept him in action as well, which was good because sometimes goalie can lose a bit of concentration or something. But no, it showed he was on the ball, which was great. But there's still time in stoppage time for us to get our second goal. Again, deep Pino free kick again. This time, as we said before, straight to the back post, where this time Lerma gets up and powers the ball back in with his header. He brushes off Lacroix down to Sarr, who stabs it past the keeper. So another great goal, but as is expected, VAR sign goes up, another long check, and I can only assume it was either looking for offside or it did brush off sort of the shoulder arm pit of Lacroix. So whether they were looking at handball or whatever or whoever, but again after the customary 3-4 minute check, we got the goal. So yeah, great to go in half time, 2-0 up. Takes all the pressure off at that point. Especially with the result of the last game, so we could come in, and it was possible. I think they might have made some changes but I think it was quite good. We came out obviously trying to get the third goal, and then he might have made the changes, which we find out wasn't quite how it played. But yeah, so 2-0 at half time, Nick.
Yeah, I was very surprised at the way that Alkmaar set up and actually played in the first half, if I'm honest with you. I think most people thought before the game, because we are a difficult team to play at home, they would actually park the bus and make us come on to them. It didn't actually materialise like that. It was two good teams having a good go at each other. We got the luck of the green, and with another, I'm going to do it, Lerma leap like a salmon at the back post, we go in 2-0 up. I mean, it was just a very strange way I thought they set up. There were two teams really having a go at each other.
And that played into our hands, didn't it, guys? Because, we saw in the Larnaca game how difficult we found it, and against Fredrikstad in both games, how hard it was to break them down. Millwall was the same in the Carabao. These teams that park the bus, the two banks of five, we find it really hard. By the way, Oliver Glasner needs to find an answer to that, because it will happen again. We will play other teams like that this season. So he does need to find a solution. And I'm not sure he's got it in a minute. But it didn't matter against AZ Alkmaar, because they came to play and they're a half-decent football inside. And the boy Schmidt, the little boy that looked like De Bruyne, apparently we've been watching him, and he played a part. We'll come to their goal later, but he played a part in it, and he looked very, very useful in the middle of the park. But Sarr reacted well, didn't he, for this goal? He was quick, and sometimes the fox in the box sort of thing. You've got to be quick, haven't you, to be first to react? And Ismaila Sarr did that, and he likes scoring goals in all competitions except in the Premier League when I pick him for my fantasy team. So there we are. 2-0 half time, Paul. Happy with that.
Yeah, it's excellent stuff. So second half starts, and again, Alkmaar came out, and obviously, like the first half, really, they were sort of the prominent team at the start of the second half, and they had some good attacking play down the right, as you say, with Schmidt and a few, and they crossed it into the box, and wasn't the best clearance from Munoz. It went straight back to their player, who then moved it on to his foot, and he hit a shot which again deflected off Munoz and sort of too close to Henderson to react. So it just went in off his arm. But it was not the best way to start the second half, and give them a bit of confidence. And I'd say it's a bit of a lucky goal with the deflection and that, but we probably the masters of our own downfall. That we had a couple of chances to clear it and we didn't. So I mean, again, it may have sharpened our minds, which was good, because it only took 131 seconds for us to get our 2-goal lead back. So
that's all.
But it was, and this was a great goal. I mean, the ball was up in the air, and Mateta took it down in the centre circle, turned, moved forward, and he's played one of the best passes of the season, to be honest. He split the defence through a very small gap onto Sarr, who doesn't have to change his stride pattern or anything, and hopefully we'll come on to Sarr a bit later about his effect on this team. But his finish was brilliant. He just put it in the corner, and he's one of those on a one-on-one. You back him most times. He's got the pace to get away from defenders, and he's calm in front of goal. And once he went through, unlike with Mateta's penalty, and I was thinking the worst. As soon as he got the ball and went away from the defenders, I was thinking he's going to put this in, and he placed it in the corner. So beautiful goal, and as I say, I think helped Mateta as well, because obviously it has to affect a player when you miss a penalty, and he was clearly taking shots when he might not have, and trying to make up for it. But that was, I mean, I loved the way the way Oliver Glasner comes out and he's pointing both his fingers at Mateta as if to say, yes, that was top work. And it was a great goal.
Yeah, I think Jean-Philippe Mateta needs to take an awful lot of credit for it. Did really, really well. That image, by the way, I think was from the first goal when he's congratulating Lacroix. For those of you on podcast, you wonder what I'm talking about. But look, Sarr finished it brilliantly. So let's talk about Ismaila Sarr now, because you raised that, Paul. Are we more confident with Sarr running onto a ball like that than we are Jean-Philippe Mateta running onto a ball like that?
Okay, can I answer that?
Nick,
okay, because I'll answer your question, Ian, because they've already done it for you. I think it was about 3 or 4 minutes later, we had the same opportunity, but in reverse. It was Sarr that put the ball onto Mateta, and he put it into Rosette. It was one of those goals where, I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, he didn't strike it cleanly. The ball seemed to be slightly behind him as he shot, and it was very. I think it was at Wembley. He scored something very similar. Mateta put Sarr through, clean through, he put it away. Sarr then put Mateta through a couple of minutes later, and he didn't finish it.
I think there was one yesterday, wasn't there? earlier on in the game when Mateta blasted it over when he was through, and I think it was Sarr that played him in.
And it was. And my only concern about Sarr is the influence. We're going to lose him for AFCON, and the effect that will have on us as a club when we lose him for AFCON.
Yeah, big miss. Absolutely, it'll be a big miss when he goes away with AFCON in a few weeks' time, for sure. By the way, he did win Goal of the Month for October. For the second goal, he scored up at Liverpool, the team goal that we talked about last week. So that was his Goal of the Month. Yeah. And you can watch a clip on the Palace player of him receiving his award for that. But I think, the goal he scored against Alkmaar was even better than that. That was the best goal I've seen him score. And as I said earlier, not just the finish, but the assist from Jean-Philippe Mateta as well was very, very good. So Sarr is proving really, really shrewd acquisition, isn't he, in the Palace setup, to the point of where we're saying now that when he goes away with his country, we're going to really miss him, and we will. What's the solution when he goes? Who comes in and starts on the right-hand side of that front three in the 10 in place of Ismaila Sarr? Tim?
What's the state of Nketiah? Is that a long-term injury? I haven't heard.
He's supposed to be due back after the international break.
Because, hopefully, I think he's performed pretty well when he's come on this year. I don't think he's quite up to Sarr's level, but he makes things happen. Whether we don't have that many options. Uche, I don't know if he's going to be.
Well, he's going to AFCON too. He'll be going to AFCON.
Of course he is. Yeah, he will be as well. So, and this is the problem we've got. The squad depth and quality isn't quite there. So we don't have a natural. SA, but I don't think he's quite up to it yet either, to be honest. So again, this comes back to what we've been saying for a couple of seasons now.
Yeah, and I think what Oliver Glasner was asked in a few post-match press conferences recently about the window and losing players for AFCON, and he said one or two or more are needed in January. So I think we can expect to see new faces in January. I think it might be one or two, and we might be pleasantly surprised. Well, let's hope so, touch wood, that happens. Paul, anything else you want to add about Sarr? Because you raised it. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just as I say, we've been linked with him for a long time before we actually got him, and I was never that fussed to get him. And when we bought him, I was never overly fussed. So I have to take my hat off to him and put my hands up. I think he's become, as we said, he's become absolutely crucial to the way we play with his pace and his power and his finishing. And as I say, he obviously had a tough break to replace Elise, which he was never going to do. But if you're looking like a money ball effect of what he produces for the team, he scores more goals than Elise. And as we said, the fact that we're worrying about how he'll be missed when he's not there. I think for the way we'll go, we're quite fortunate that we have the midfield. So I think he'll just put Lerma or Hughes in with Walton and move Kamada up. And like he did the other day. So there are the options. But again, they're all going to need a rest probably at that point anyway. So, yeah, as we say, we've just got to get through to January and hopefully get a few more in. But yeah, Sarr, I just wanted to say he's become a far more important player to us than I ever thought he will. So, yeah, top man.
Good.
But yeah.
Okay. So the rest of this game then with 3-1 up.
Carry on with the game. As I say, as Nick said straight after that, Mateta's put through by Sarr and he's missed the target, dragged it wide. And he's missed a few chances this year, missing the target. But you can't, as I say, he's actually scored 8 or 9 goals anyway. So if he could convert the rest of them, he'd be challenging Haaland at the top of the stakes. But with the game effectively won at that point, Oliver could start making changes. He said so. He brought on Walton and Kamada for Hughes and for Sarr. And it was always the plan, apparently, to bring Kamada on and Walton to try and, as he said, get his heart pumping a bit after he'd missed 3 or 4 games, getting ready for Sunday, really. And apparently, Sarr in the morning had said he'd felt a slight tightness in his hamstring. So again, it was good to bring him off and just get some precautions there as well. Devaney then came on as well, so it was good to see people trying to get rested and moving around. And then near the end, Uche and Klein came on for Mateta and Munoz and. I'm never sure whether 4 or 5 minutes is much of a rest. I suppose it just is stopping them getting injured, isn't it? But then there's one more chance in the game in the 90th minute for Alkmaar. They flung the ball into the box to their centre forward, and he headed it wide of a pretty open goal almost. He should have buried it, and he knew that because he went and kicked the post, which showed he was a bit disappointed with his finish. But yeah, that was pretty much the game. The long-lasting effect into stoppage time at that point was Mark Gay went down in front of the Alkmaar in front of the box, and he took a bit of a whack in the challenge, and he took a little while to come back up and hobbled back onto the pitch. And there was a very unlike Mark Gay moment at that point. He decided to stroll out instead of running straight back into defence. He decided to stroll in a totally different direction and toe poke the ball away to get himself a very strange and silly booking, which hopefully won't come back to haunt him further down the line, because another booking will get him a ban. But we were trying to work out what he was thinking at that point. I mean, whether he was just trying to buy himself some time to get back, but he seemed to run further forward. And if he didn't think he could get back, he probably should have stayed down and we could have subbed him, or just played the last 2 minutes with 10 men. But it just seemed a very strange booking, that one.
Yeah, I mean, it really strange, and I think now we know maybe why he did it, or some thinking behind why he did it. Because if he was really hurt, if he was hurting, he was in a lot of pain. Maybe he just wasn't thinking straight. I don't know, but he clearly shouldn't have done it. But then we've learnt that he had this really bad bruising to a bone in his foot, which sounds quite debilitating, because Oliver Glasner said that he hasn't been able to walk. He wasn't able to sleep because of the pain, and which ruled him out of the Brighton game. And it very much looks like he's not going away with England. Although Oliver said, "Oh well, maybe he'll go on crutches. They'll just send him back," which is a bit stupid, but it seems crazy, because he is one of the first names on the England team sheet now as well. Of course, as a centre back, he's a shoe in there. So
you don't want to be missing England games at the moment. There's probably only 4 or 5 left to the World Cup. So, although, as we say, I think he's the first name in the defensive team sheet for them, if someone did come on and had an absolutely outstanding time, it might not be great. So you don't want to miss it. But yeah, so that was it. The final whistle went. Good, well-deserved win. And for a few moments we were 8th in the crucial top 8 of the table. But Rio got a last-minute winner, so we finished the night 9th in the table. So a good evening's work.
Yeah, very good. And have you got some stats for us, Nick, on this game?
I'll pull those up in a second. Do you think there's any chance that Sarr won't travel now because of that potential injury he's got?
Sarr?
Yeah, because he got a knock at the end of the game, didn't he? Yesterday.
Yeah, I think and the good news, Oliver Glasner has said this the other day. The good news is that Senegal have got 2 games, but they're both in London, so he hasn't actually got to travel anywhere. But
right, that's a good shout. I'm hoping. What I was hoping somebody would say is that he won't go, or if he does go, he won't play because he needs a rest. Match stats from that game: corners 2-1 to us. Shots, we had 21, they had 9. Shots on target, we had 7, they had 4. Shots off target, we had 8. Thank you, JP. And they had 4. Overall, I was just trying to find out the overall percentage of possession because it was quite high in their favour in the end. Touches inside the box, we had 39 to AZ's 20. Pretty good, pretty decent stuff.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for that. And of course, I mean, it puts us in a strong position. I think I've seen some of the predictions as to the percentage certainty of finishing in the top 8, and we're about 100% or 95% to finish in the top 8, according to what's expected to happen in the final 3 games in the group, which bodes well. But we've actually got to get the points on the board, and we're not there yet by a long shot. That's the table before the Rio game finished, because they got a late winner, which pushed them up from 11th to on 7 points. So we slipped to 9th. But look, we fully expect to qualify for the knockouts in that top 8, which means we avoid the playoffs in February, which is really, we must avoid those 2 games, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the chat, George just put about Chris Richards not going on international duty either. I think that was a bit of a strange one, because Oliver mentioned last week he was a bit frustrated that even though Chris Richards has had a bit of a niggle, he went all the way to America and played 90 minutes in both their games recently. And then Pochettino, the American manager, sort of had a mini pop back in his press conference last week, saying that
he really did. Yeah,
he was surprised that Oliver Glasner brought that up, and he's the American manager and all sorts of stuff. But lo and behold, I think Chris Richards is now not. I don't think he's been selected for the American squad this time. So whether he's just said, "Okay, if he's not fit, I'm not going to play him," or I don't know. But it's a bit of a tit for tat with that one, which is a bit strange.
Yeah, and Oliver was asked about what he said to Pochettino, and he said, "I'm not prepared to comment." So they've clearly had a little falling out over it, but hopefully it's the right solution in the short term, Nick.
I'm delighted to say that YouTube is back and running. So welcome to anybody watching us on YouTube, or if you've been waiting for us to start on YouTube, we don't know what that was. It has nothing to do with us. That was a YouTube button not pushed, probably by Lucy Usher. But what I was going to say was about the Strasbourg game. If we get, I think if we get a point out in Strasbourg, with the last two games we got against Cups and who is it? The Shelbourne. Yeah, I think to finish in the top 8 is easy for us, isn't it? I just don't. If we can't win it, just don't lose it in Strasbourg.
Yeah, potentially. It's certainly the toughest of the 3 remaining games is the Strasbourg game. Paul,
we did say that about Larnaca. Every game is losable. So yeah, as I say, we've given ourselves by losing that game a little less margin for error. But yeah, you'd like to think we'd get enough points out of those 3 games.
Sure. Okay. Look, before we get on to talking about yesterday and the visit of Brighton to Sellers Park, just a little update. As we do on this podcast, we don't just talk about the first team, we talk about other teams as well. And since we were last on air, well, the other teams haven't done so well, actually. It's a shame. The women lost 2-1 at home to Sheffield United over the weekend. The under-18s, they lost 3-2 to West Ham. The under-21s, they played in their European Premier League Cup thing. They lost 1-0 to Valencia, and then they drew more recently with Stoke City 2-2. So that's how the other teams have been getting on since we were last on air. So Tim, you were with us in the ground yesterday, which was good to have you joining the 24,000 odd because they did leave a few seats empty between the Brighton fans and the Palace fans in the Arthur Wait, as is their want for these games. You're going to take us through the Brighton game, Tim. So, team lineups first of all, Lucy, please, if we've got them there. There we go. Team lineups. So Adam Wharton is back in the picture and back in the starting 11. There were actually 3 changes from the Alkmaar game. Have I got my notes here? Yes, I have. So JD Campbell obviously was a debutant and came in for Mark Gahey, who was injured, which we've already talked about. Wharton started in place of Pino and Kamada for Hughes, although in sort of reverse positions, really. So that was the starting 11. Tim.
Yeah, it's always nice to be in a Brighton game. I don't think it's quite got the venom that they used to have us old people remember, but there's still quite a bit there. The first thing I want to say is how well the minute silence was honoured from both sets of fans. I was in the Arthur Wait and there was one supporter did call something out, but they were very quickly by many people told to be quiet in a certain way. And that was it. And I thought it was brilliant. Both Brighton fans and us, I thought it was it's quite emotional, actually. I thought it was actually really good to see it in this day and age honoured in that way. I don't know how anybody else thought, but it was a good atmosphere. And we started really well, but I thought quite quickly some nerves started from the crowd. I thought it was a bit... we started really well, I've got to say, and that was really pleasing because, since coming back from New Zealand, there have been a few times we played them and we just haven't seen up for it as a team. I don't know if it was the manager at the time, but yesterday I thought we started really brightly. I was a bit concerned when I saw Gahey wasn't starting. I think probably most people, if they were honest, were a bit, this could be interesting, but I have to say, I thought the young man was an absolute star yesterday. I thought as well as Mitchell, but your Premier League starting debut against Brighton, our arguably biggest home game, I thought it was outstanding. But we started brightly and quite quickly. A great break forward by Sarr. And again, talking about Sarr, for me, this season especially, what's been really frustrating is how easily he goes down. And I thought yesterday, whether something's been said, I mean, that break that he, towards the beginning, quite easy, he could have gone down, but he kept going. He pushed forward and played a lovely ball through to JP, who again took a first-time shot. But for some reason, I think he went for the near post, where I think it would have made more sense if he'd gone across towards the far post. But it's easy to say at the time. Paul. after you.
I thought exactly the same, Tim, about where he went for that. But then I remembered last year he had a shot from a very similar position when he went far post and scored. And I don't know whether he thought, bro, I'll try and catch the keeper out this time and go the other way, because he might have expected the same thing. But yeah, it was my first thought as well why he didn't go there. And that was my logic for why I didn't think he did.
I don't think
and I think
games.
Yeah, but I think that's been JP this year. I don't think he's quite been the player that he has been the last couple of years in those kind of instances. Paul, I said, well, last season he would have buried that, but this year he just hasn't seemed to have just yet the edge there. But anyway, so that was a really good start. Great first time shot, just a bit wide. But then Brighton, I think it was there weren't that many highlights during the first half, I don't think. I think Brighton seemed to come into it, but our defence looked pretty good. I mean, they were pretty comfortable, but it was almost like a deliberate tactic, whether it was tiredness, but we did seem to stand off them quite a bit and like play the block and basically let them have the ball at the back in their own half to playing the ball backwards and forwards. And I was a bit disappointed with that, whether it was tiredness from the number of games, but I think it was disappointing. I'd have liked to have seen us go for them a bit more. But I think also what Brighton did well was they negated Nunes. And I noticed that both, like, when we were trying to go down the right-hand side, they double up on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. And that was obviously a tactic of theirs. And I think it was quite successful because really there wasn't much else happening. It's fairly level, I thought. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Paul, you raised a point, I think, in one of our group chats about the match of the day highlights missing the best bit of the first half. Do you want to just allude to that?
Yeah, no, we played a very nice. As I say, they had the first real shot, which Dino had a good save from. But yeah, a couple of minutes after that, we went up the other end and played some nice stuff on the edge of the box. And Mateta just cushioned it back for Sarr, who tried to curl it into the bottom corner and brought a very good save from their goalkeeper.
Yeah,
But so BBC decided not to show that one, which was surprising. It was probably the best shot of the half. But yeah, as Tim said, it was a pretty even sort of half, and I think as we probably get to near the end of the game, it felt to me again that both teams were just trying not to lose. They didn't want to make mistakes. They didn't want to. Brighton obviously didn't want to lose after losing to us twice last year. We were obviously protecting ourselves a bit with the tiredness and stuff. So it felt like a bit of a defensive war of attrition, and you just needed one person to have that little bit of magic to get the goal, which would have opened it up. But yeah, it was fairly even and fairly flat in that half, to be honest, with the crowd, I thought as well.
I think a goal changes the game. I know it sounds flipping obvious to say that, but it does, because if they score, we've got to come up. You know, we've got to change the way we play and leave more gaps, and vice versa. So all the time it's 0-0. It's like a game of chess. You know, nobody wants to lose. No one wants to take any real risks, and that means that you just reach this stalemate. And I thought they pressed. They played us at our own game, really, because they were pressing really, really well, Brighton. And they seemed to have more energy even in the first half, and it just looked noticeable, especially as we got into the second half, that we played on Thursday night and they hadn't. And it was the same at Everton, wasn't it? You know, if you think about the Everton game, how we tired towards the end, we should have nailed that and had other chances to have scored in that one, but we tired and we lost that one. So this is going to happen when you play Thursday, Sunday, no matter what anyone actually says. So until you actually mix it up a little bit more, I think we are going to have to, I don't know, either get fitter or find a way of dealing with this. Nick?
Yeah, just a couple of things there. I mean, Tim, I'm coming back to a point you made right at the very beginning, but let's celebrate the fact that we actually got our first point post a Thursday night game, which we did. Yeah. And it is a point. Don't lose the game, draw it if you can't win it. So, Tim, you made the point about the atmosphere. Paul's also alluded to it. I wanted to raise the point that I don't know about you guys, because to me, it was the flattest build-up to that event that I can remember for years. Not just for the team or the quietness of the build-up, but from the fan base. I know our focus of attention is on a bigger game, obviously the Alkmaar game. To me, Brighton were they're an insignificance at the best of the time, but particularly at this point in time, particularly now, because we've got something over them that they're never going to have ever in their history, and that's 2 trophies. Even if they win a couple of trophies, we got there first. They are just an irrelevant And the whole build up to the game, in my opinion, was an irrelevance. Nothing happened. It was all about Thursday night and nothing about Sunday.
Yeah, you said that last week, didn't you? It was a bit quieter in the build-up, and I think that was inevitable given the Alkmaar game. But yeah, so it was a game of few chances in the first half, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, the couple of points I did want to raise. Sorry, I forgot to bring them earlier on. The first thing was I was disappointed that Henderson was the made captain.
Yeah,
I think Lacroix all day long should have been the captain. But that's just that. The other thing that I was not happy to see, and I think there's various reasons for it, it worried me how easily they managed to play through our midfield. There was quite a few times where a certain player, who I can't mention because Teresa will have another go at me.
No, you've got to name names. Are you going to talk about the player that won October Player of the Month?
Yeah, I mean, looking at yesterday, I don't know how the hell he managed that, but the number of times he was completely out of position for his role in midfield. It may not be a role he plays, but so easily they played the ball around him and just took him completely out of position, out of the game. But that's not just him. I'm not saying it's just him, but it did worry me how easily they did play through our middle.
You agree with that, Paul and Nick?
No, I'll go first. Tim, you'll know that I've never been at the beginning. In the early days, I was never a big Kamada fan. Okay, I couldn't see what all the hype was. In recent weeks and months, I think if I was Tim Richards, and thankfully I'm not, but if I was Tim Richards, I would maybe do something that Joel Holyoke's advocated for years. You now need to have a look, just do a player watch on Kamada and what he brings to the game for 15 minutes. Just focus your attention just on one player and do it on Kamada. Because, he might have given away possession a few times. In fact, I could look that up while you're talking and find out what he did do, what he didn't do in the game, because I've got them here, okay? But just player watch. Just player watch one man for 15 minutes of a game, and you'll see that guy is turning into be one of the best signings in the last couple of years. My opinion. You're entitled to yours, but
exactly. And that's the beauty. And that's the beauty of the Red and Blue Review is we can have that. But again, he's definitely improved. Don't get me wrong, from what he was last season. It's just taken a season and a half. But so second half started, and again, we seem to be holding off a bit. Again, it was the same kind of tactics where just like low block, don't let them have the ball at the back, let them do what they want to do. But they started getting some crosses in. They had quite a few corners. And they were good corners, but it was pleasing to see how well we defended them. Again, Mitchell, we've already mentioned about Mitchell and Cambo today. Both of them I thought were exceptional. And the tackles, the speed, how they marshalled. Welbeck, they were talking about Welbeck should be getting an England call-up. But he was nothing yesterday. I mean, they were so well managed. But as the game went on, and then we probably had one of our best moves where finally we did press them and Wharton nicked the ball off whichever defender it was. I don't bother knowing their players' names. He played a lovely ball through to Kamada, to JP, who nicked it back to Mada, who had an instant quality ball back to Wharton, who then played it back to who was it? Was it Lerma, I think? Oh. Yeah, Lerma. Sarr, was it? Yeah. And then he and it happened a few times yesterday, he seemed to fluff his lines where it was the first time shot all day long, but he didn't. He stopped and tried to beat someone and fluffed the ball back. And it seemed to be a couple of times where that happened, where it was so frustrating. Paul.
Yeah, you're right. We do try and walk the ball in the net sometimes when you just sometimes got to hit a shot. We've seen in recent weeks, you hit a shot, it can come back off the keeper and a rebound can be hit or it can be deflected like the Alkmaar goal against us. And I think sometimes we just try and be a little bit too precise when, sometimes just let rip.
Yeah, Nick.
Just a very quickly, just finishing off on the Kamada point, Tim. 23 out of 30 accurate passes yesterday, 80%. 2 out of 2 successful dribbles. Okay, but the 1 point actually you come on to, or you were talking about, 4 out of 7 ground duels won. So he actually got dispossessed 3 times yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for those stats, Nick. That's interesting. I think that was the most frustrating moment for me yesterday, that move that you've just been talking about, Tim. I couldn't believe that Kamada missed the target at the end, but when you look at it back, it was actually harder than it looked in real time, I think. But Sarr should have pulled the trigger. They defended really well. They got bodies back, blocked it. And we kept it alive for a long, long time before it eventually went over the bar. Yeah, so, we've got other chances, don't we, in this second half that you're going to come to as well. Yeah, so let's carry on.
Yeah, so not long after that, then we had the dive, the Olympic standard dive that we had in the penalty area. Whereas again, it was a good Brighton move. They had some good moves, some good play yesterday, but blatant cheating. I mean, from where I was in the Arthur Way, with the big stanchion in the way, you couldn't actually really see that much. It wasn't until I got home and watched it, and again, we've all knocked VAR, but that was a perfect. You can't blame the ref for missing that to start off with in normal play. I thought the ref did really well with that particular part of the game. But went to VAR, obvious cheating, and he got booked. So that was very pleasing because it would have been very sad if they.
This was the referee from Lancing, West Sussex, we're talking about, isn't it? And
Sussex people.
Yeah. Apparently, Brighton fans don't like him refereeing them because they always say he's biased against them. But I thought he looked in favour of them more often than not yesterday. The VAR decision, aside, maybe, he was told what to do then, Paul.
It was one of those games yesterday where you look at our sites and everyone was thinking he was completely biased against us. You look at their sites, they think he was completely biased against them. It's amazing how often that happens. But yeah, as I say, it's VAR in a nutshell. I mean, look, in real time from where we were, it looked a penalty. He's run into a crowd of players and he probably gets tripped. But they show it on the big screen again after, and it was pretty clear straight away that Cambo's not even moved his foot and he's clearly been kicked by the player. And yeah, that's what VAR's there for, as Tim says. And you're right.
Did you hear the noise, the crowd, mate, when they played that back?
When you see it.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know.
Blatant cheating.
I know. And when the referee was trying to explain it, and the roar from the Selhurst crowd, you couldn't hear what he was saying towards the end there. Do you remember that time, Paul, when we played Norwich away and Andy Johnson was in the team and the Norwich end had all those cards with 5.7 and 5.6 and 5.9 on? And every time Andy Johnson got the ball, they all held up these cards. Absolutely hilarious. Very, very funny. Anyway, that's an aside. That diving. Carry on, Tim.
Yeah, so then basically it was a bit of this and that for the rest of the game. We had two more chances where, again, Kamada showed some great skill. I forget who actually knocked the ball. I think Lerma played the ball across to him. And, again, it was a bit too far out to the left-hand side, but Kamada dragged the ball past the Brighton defender really nicely and got off a shot. But, again, he was just a bit too far left and he went for the near post and it just went wide. And then really the last effort was a Pino free kick that came across. And again, I think it was it Lerma leap again or Richards? I can't think of one beginning with R. Jump, knocked the ball across. The Brighton defender missed the ball and Pino came running in. And again, it was a great effort. I mean, from where we were, you could see it was going. It was going in, and again, great save from the Brighton keeper. Just got down and just tipped it round. I don't think Pino could have done much more with that. And it would have been a bit cheeky. I think if he had got in, we would have ended up winning. But yeah, I think basically, again, I would have liked to have won, but another clean sheet, another good point.
Absolutely, Tim. Thank you so much for that. And I agree with you there. I think had that last effort from Pino gone in, it would have been harsh on Brighton. And they nicked it at the death, it would have been harsh on us. So it was probably the right result. In terms of XG, we came out better, 0.74 to their 0.38. We had 10 shots to 7. They had 3 on target. We only had 2. The touches in the opposition box, almost identical, 29 to 28. And everything else was fairly equal. They had double the number of corners to us. We only have 4. They had 8 corners. Nick Philpot.
Yeah, I just want to make a couple of observations on yesterday. And probably, first of all, JD Cambo seamlessly slips into that. I think that's going to be a beast in the making. I think that's going to be an absolute beast in the making. We have got ourselves a very decent centre back there. Obviously, he just needs time. Yeah, look at that. I didn't know you were saying that, Dave. Sorry, mate. I wasn't trying to steal your thunder. Dave Newman says, shout out to Cambo, solid performance. I don't think solid performance actually gives it much credit. I think rumour has it he was maybe man of the match or potential man of the match, Dave.
Well, he was close. He played really well, but Tariq Mitchell got man of the match, and I think rightly so.
Which was what I was coming on to. And a massive shout out to Ty. How that clown Tuchel is overlooking Tariq Mitchell as our left back. He's not getting included in the squad. What else has he got to do? Paul, what other options has he got at a left-sided left back playing for England? You know better than I do.
Well, I mean, he's picked Nico O'Reilly. His left back. I mean, he went with Lewis Skelly, but he can't get in the Arsenal team anymore. He's tried Dan Burn out there. He's tried Livramento out there, and now he's brought Nico O'Reilly. And as I say, it baffles me. I mean, it's not like he's unknown to the England camp. He's played for England, Tariq Mitchell, before. So how he's not even in the squad as a fullback or just to try? Because it's not like we've got shoo-ins for that position. So yeah, I'm really strange. I mean, as I say, I said earlier, I want to go back a couple of years on this show and see when I was praising Tariq Mitchell to help back then, and perhaps I should be the England manager. But that's another story. But he's been so consistent, and I know people used to throw at him and he wasn't as good at attacking, and obviously his main strength is his defending. But I think going forward, he has developed and he's a lot better, and he's a bit
definitely 100%.
He's a bit unfortunate that everyone compares him to Munoz, who's an outstanding attacking fullback. So, but I think he's pretty much the complete package these days. And how he's not getting a look in at England level.
And two things on, you just mentioned Munoz, if you don't mind. Munoz and Mateta, to me, looked fatigued from the start yesterday. No one can blame them. No one can blame them. I think Tim said they Brighton shut Munoz down a little bit. There is a little bit of that, I'm sure. But I also think he looked a little bit fatigued.
Listen, I think Tariq Mitchell will get his chance again if he keeps doing what he's doing. And maybe it's a blessing in disguise. He's not in the current England squad, but arguably, I think this is the last one, isn't it, before the World Cup? Is that right? Or is there one more?
It's more in March, and they'll probably have a couple
he needs to get a call up then if he wants to go to America, I think. So he needs to keep doing it, and maybe he will. Because you're right, Paul. There's not exactly a long line of English left backs at the moment. There really isn't. And I'm glad he's dropped Lewis Skelly because, as I said, he's not even in the Arsenal team. So how he was getting in ahead of him is goodness knows. Right, okay. So we talked earlier a little bit about additions in January, needing one or two additions in January. I saw something that was so left field that I'm not sure I even think it's worth airtime, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Did you know it's Wilfred Zaha's birthday today? So happy birthday, Wilf. His season ends in January with FC Charlotte.
No. Sorry.
Do we get him back to clean Mateta's boots? No. I mean, seriously, is he not worth consideration, or has he just had his day and it's definitely not? No. It's no from everybody. It's no in the chat as well, is it?
It's a unanimous no. He's time.
Yeah, it is. It's a shame. But you're right. I don't disagree with you. I just thought I'd put it out there. Okay. So who do you want to see come in then? I mean, another person that could return, of course, and is very much heavily linked with a move back to England is Conor Gallagher. I don't know whether he's in the current England squad or whether he's missed out again. Someone tell me. But what about Conor Gallagher? Would you have him back?
Oh, I'd love to. Any stretch. I think we need some more cover in the middle. Definitely.
I think that would be if we were to buy him. I think the wages would be an expensive option. I'm not sure that was what I would dearly like to see. I think there's a role for him, Tim. Yet you're right. Okay, but let's not on subjects of who we're going to have coming in January. Don't forget we've got two sitting out there now, potentially very good players in Chadi Riyad and Czech Decore to come back.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully they'll be back and fit soon and be part of the squad before we know it. Okay, guys, we're getting close to that hour mark. We're going to just run on a little bit longer tonight. Bad time management from me. Lucy, we've got some fixtures to look ahead to as well, of course. So here we go. We've got the nice international break now, 2 weeks off before we play again. We go to Wolves in the Premier League, 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday. That's nice, isn't it? On the 22nd of November, before we head off to France for the Strasbourg game on Thursday the 27th. And then immediately following that, Manchester United are the visitors for a midday kickoff on a Sunday the following weekend. We've then got to Burnley midweek. These games just come so thick and fast, which is a dreadful away game for a midweek in the Premier League. On the Sunday, we've got the 4:30 Sky game away at Fulham. More of the same from last year in the quarterfinal would be great. And then we've got a game missing from that. Of course, the Shelbourne game is on Thursday, the 11th of December. And that's away in the Conference League before Manchester City are the visitors on the Sunday after that. Whew, what a schedule. That's some schedule, isn't it, coming up?
Both Manchester clubs in on that slide at home. Very good.
Yeah, Paul.
And that will probably be the debut for Wolves' new manager. So we'll be facing a new manager bounce that day, which will be quite interesting.
Well, if it's the guy they're getting from Middlesbrough, it doesn't bother me. New manager bounce or no new manager bounce. I don't think it's about a huge difference. But yeah, you're right. Of course, we play a Wolves team with a new manager in a couple of weeks. Just the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak. So on that note, what's the score going to be at Molineux? Paul Gear, first of all.
2-1 Palace.
2-1 Palace. Tim, what do you think?
2-0.
2-0. 2-0 Palace. Nick
Now
Philpot.
he's done that. Gears nicked mine. I was going to go 2-1.
Oh, you can have the same. You can have the same.
2-1 Palace.
So you're on 2-1 as well. I'm
Is
with
Fergus
Tim.
around somewhere?
I'm with Tim. I don't think they score. I think we win 2 or 3-0. I think we're that good. And I know a Wolves fan who I talk to occasionally, and he's not very happy at the moment, as you can imagine. No team survived with just 2 points after 11 games. So we expect them to get relegated. Let's hope Nottingham Forest go with them.
Absolutely.
There we are. Gordon McDonald thinks 5-0. Goodness me.
Good on you, Gordon.
I'll have a pint of whatever he's drinking. Okay. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. What are our plans for the international break? Tim, what are you up to during the break?
Sleeping.
Sleeping. As exciting as that, is it? What about you, Nick? Where are you off to?
I'm going to pop up to Preston to see little Zoe, my granddaughter.
Wonderful. You have a great time in Preston. And Paul, got any plans at all?
Yeah, I'm flying to Las Vegas tomorrow. So my international break is lots of American sport, American shows, and a bit.
It's all right for some. He's flying to Las Vegas. We hope you have a great time, buddy.
What about you, Ian? What are you doing, mate?
I will celebrate a birthday in the international break. So I can officially, I know you won't believe this, but I can officially buy a senior ticket at a football match.
Is that 70 plus?
Yeah. Not far
Nick
off.
should know.
Not far off. Not far off. So there we go. So look, guys, thank you for joining us. To Nick Philpot, Tim Richards, Paul Gear. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us tonight. We hope you have a great international break. And thanks to our producer, Lucy, for doing all the hard work in the background. Have a great international break, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Well done, Ian. Thank you.
Good.